Welcome to the deep dive. We are so glad you're joining us today because today's topic feels a bit like watching a sci-fi economy clash head-on with real-world demographics.
Yeah, it really does.
If you've been paying attention to global markets, you know the tectonic plates of the global workforce are shifting. But what is happening in the Middle East right now is, well, it's on another level entirely.
Completely.
Right.
I mean, we are witnessing a historical anomaly here. Immense sovereign wealth, the fastest technological rollout in human history, and a highly unique set of population dynamics. They're all colliding in one specific region.
Right. And to understand the sheer scale of this collision, we are pulling from some incredibly fresh source material today.
Very fresh.
Yeah. We have a newly released March 11, 2026 press release, along with extensive excerpts from an accompanying white paper. And this is all published by EON AI Ventures. These documents detail a massive, just incredibly ambitious project they are calling the Sovereign Human Initiative, GCC.
And our mission for this deep dive is to explore the real-time economic paradox unfolding across the Gulf Cooperation Council nations. We're going to analyze this proposed blueprint, which is fundamentally a master plan to turn an impending AI-driven workforce crisis into an unprecedented innovation boom.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because to really grasp what EON AI Ventures is attempting to solve here, we have to look at the massive macroeconomic transition the Gulf states are currently executing.
Right.
For nearly a century, I mean, the story of the GCC has been dictated by oil, but these countries are acutely aware that the post-oil future is arriving fast. So they've been pouring trillions into economic diversification programs.
You see this heavily in Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030.
Exactly, or the UAE Centennial 2071. The ultimate goal has been to pivot their economies away from fossil fuels and build these robust, modern sectors. We're talking banking, government administration, healthcare, retail, modernized energy operations.
And the historical irony here is just profound. For the last decade, economic planners in the region viewed those specific white-collar, knowledge-based sectors as the ultimate safe harbor.
Because it made sense on paper?
The logic was totally sound. If you could transition your workforce from the physical labor of the oil fields into the air-conditioned offices of finance, administration, customer service.
You were golden.
Right. You were securing your country's future in the modern global economy.
Then generative AI enters the chat.
Yeah.
The very sectors that were supposed to be the safety net are suddenly sitting right in the crosshairs of automation. I was looking at the Anthropic Economic Index numbers they cited in the white paper, which basically measures how exposed specific occupational tasks are to advanced generative models.
And the figures are staggering.
They really are. What are we actually looking at here in terms of raw exposure?
Well, the data paints a highly disruptive picture for the region. According to the index, in banking and financial services, 62% of tasks are now heavily impacted by AI. For government administration, you're looking at a 55% exposure rate. Retail and commerce sits at 52%.
Driven mostly by e-commerce AI, I assume?
Exactly, e-commerce and logistics.
Yeah.
And even in the modernized, tech-heavy segments of oil and gas operations, 48% of the daily tasks are now automatable.
So look at it this way. Imagine spending billions or even trillions to build a state-of-the-art banking and administrative sector designed to give your citizens high-paying, future-proof jobs.
Right.
Then, right as those sectors mature and you prepare to staff them, an AI architecture comes along that can seamlessly handle over half the tasks in those specific fields. It completely subverts the traditional economic development playbook.
It creates a massive strategic headache for regional policymakers. They built the infrastructure for a knowledge economy, but the definition of knowledge work was rewritten overnight by large language models.
Which brings us to the human element. You cannot understand the gravity of this economic paradox without looking at the demographics of the people who actually live and work in the GCC.
The demographic time bomb is the catalyst for this entire initiative. The GCC possesses a uniquely young population. The white paper highlights that 60% of citizens in these countries are under the age of 30.
That is a massive generation.
A massive generation of young people entering the workforce simultaneously. Yet, despite the staggering wealth in the region, youth unemployment is sitting at an alarming 18 to 25%, and it's trending even higher in certain specialized pockets.
Which feels incredibly counterintuitive when you consider the sheer volume of development, construction, corporate expansion happening in cities like Riyadh, Dubai, and Doha. But this ties into the other massive demographic factor in the region, which is the expatriate workforce. The sources note that over 70% of the entire GCC workforce consists of expats.
Yeah.
To fix this imbalance, governments have spent years instituting strict nationalization quotas. You have legal mandates like Nidaqat in Saudi Arabia, which enforces Saudization alongside Emiratization in the UAE and Omanization. These programs require companies operating in the Gulf to hire specific percentages of local nationals.
So the critical question becomes this. If these aggressive, legally binding quotas are in place, why is youth unemployment still hovering around 20%?
Right.
The answer brings us right back to the capabilities of artificial intelligence. Think about the specific tasks that generative AI is currently best at automating. We're talking about data entry, basic financial analysis, administrative processing, routine customer service.
Those are the exact entry-level and mid-level knowledge worker roles that young Gulf nationals are typically trained to step into right out of university.
They are. The local workforce's primary entry points into the corporate world are being automated out of existence. And it is worse than simply losing those jobs, because it creates a compounding friction in the labor market.
How so?
When an AI system takes over the administrative and analytical tasks, companies suddenly require highly specialized senior-level engineers and AI architects to manage that new infrastructure. Since that specialized talent pool isn't large enough locally yet, companies end up relying even more heavily on elite expatriate workers.
Oh, wow. So the very technology meant to modernize the economy is actively undermining the nationalization quotas.
Exactly.
As anyone who tracks macro trends knows, we are looking at a severe K-shaped dynamic here. The AI productivity gains and sovereign wealth portfolios shoot sharply upward, while the career prospects and economic participation of the displaced local workforce trend steeply downward.
And the K-shaped trajectory is highly destabilizing.
Yeah.
The nations themselves are accumulating unprecedented wealth, and the corporations operating there are achieving massive efficiency gains. But that downward line represents a displaced generation.
Right.
They're suddenly unequipped to navigate the AI era, and the traditional educational and workforce infrastructures, which were painstakingly built for the old pre-AI knowledge economy, are completely ill-equipped to help them pivot. The white paper makes it clear. Without immediate systemic intervention, the window to reskill and reposition these workers is going to close permanently.
Let's ground this in reality for a second. Imagine you are a 24-year-old in Riyadh. You just got your degree in finance. You are ready to enter this booming post-oil banking sector that your government has been building for a decade. And suddenly, an enterprise AI system is doing the exact entry-level data analysis you were hired to do. Your path forward just vanished.
That localized anxiety, multiplied by millions of young citizens, is exactly what EON AI Ventures is targeting.
This is why the proposed solution steps in. The Sovereign Human Initiative is positioned in the documents as a revolutionary intervention. It is a dedicated, AI-native human capital infrastructure built specifically to catch those displaced workers and transition them into what the white paper calls a thriving AI-native knowledge economy.
It is an incredibly ambitious promise. They are essentially admitting that you cannot regulate or mandate your way out of AI disruption.
Right.
So instead, you have to build a highly accelerated bridge over it. To construct that bridge, EON AI Ventures structured the initiative around 4 main pillars.
Let's break down how this actually functions on the ground, starting with the first capability they highlight: immersive intelligence. The documentation stresses this is a major departure from traditional upskilling. They aren't just handing a displaced worker a textbook or putting them in front of a standard online course.
What is fascinating here is the shift in pedagogy. Immersive intelligence involves deploying highly interactive, spatially aware training environments that mirror real-world enterprise AI applications.
So it's hands-on.
Very hands-on. Instead of reading about how to use an AI tool, workers are placed in simulated environments where they intuitively learn how to operate alongside AI agents in real time. It is adaptive learning designed to outpace the rapid evolution of the generative models themselves. You are teaching the worker to manage the AI, rather than competing against it for the same task.
That flows directly into their second pillar, which is the AI native learning platform. The key metric here seems to be speed. The platform is designed for rapid competency development, tailored specifically for those sectors getting hammered by a disruption: banking, government administration, retail.
The speed is critical because traditional 4-year degrees are too slow to keep up with the half-life of tech skills right now. The goal of this platform is maximum worker reabsorption.
Right.
You take that 24-year-old displaced finance graduate we mentioned earlier, run them through an intense AI-native upskilling sprint tailored to the specific needs of the local nationalization programs, and plug them back into the digital economy, not as a data entry clerk, but as an AI-augmented financial strategist.
Wait, hold on. I want to pause on the third pillar because this is where the white paper sounds almost utopian, and I think we need a healthy dose of skepticism here.
Sure.
The third pillar is the venture builder economy. The initiative claims that reskilling is only half the battle, and they want to empower Gulf nationals to transition away from standard workforce dependency and move into tech entrepreneurship at an industrial scale. Can you really just mandate that an entire generation of displaced administrative workers suddenly become successful tech founders overnight? How does the initiative actually justify that massive leap?
That is the exact friction point of this entire blueprint, and it requires a massive cultural pivot. You are talking about populations that have historically relied on guaranteed, highly stable government or corporate jobs. Moving them toward the high-risk environment of entrepreneurship is a monumental task.
Right.
But the white paper justifies this by arguing that if AI permanently reduces the total number of traditional corporate seats available, entrepreneurship isn't just a nice-to-have, it is a mathematical necessity for economic survival.
So how do they actually engineer that without it collapsing?
By utilizing the region's massive sovereign wealth to de-risk the process. The Venture Builder framework isn't just telling people to go start a business in their garage. It provides the API access, the foundational funding, the AI infrastructure, and the mentorship.
I see.
The displaced worker brings their domain expertise, say, a deep understanding of local healthcare logistics, and the Venture Builder pairs them with AI tools to build a specialized startup. They are trying to create a new, decentralized layer of AI-enabled businesses to absorb the labor shock.
That makes a lot more sense. You take the risk off the individual and place it on the sovereign wealth funds, which have the capital to absorb the failures while hunting for the successes.
Exactly.
But to validate all of this, the reskilling, the immersive training, the new ventures, they need the global market to actually respect the outcomes. That brings us to the fourth and final pillar, the Global Diploma Alliance.
In a rapidly shifting global economy, legacy degrees from traditional institutions are losing their signaling power, especially when the curriculum is 3 years behind the current technology. Employers need credentials they can actually trust. The Global Diploma Alliance provides globally accredited certifications in these highly specific, new AI-focused specializations.
It essentially reinforces the government nationalization efforts by proving that the local talent isn't just a quota hire sitting at a desk to avoid a fine. They are globally certified experts capable of meeting enterprise demands faster than legacy universities can produce them.
Exactly the point. It transforms the perception of the local workforce from a regulatory obligation into a highly competitive, AI-fluent asset.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Dan Lajerskar, the chairman of EON AI Ventures, is quoted in the press release, and his specific phrasing really captures the stakes of this entire endeavor.
What did he say?
He says, "The Sovereign Human Initiative is not an incremental solution. It is a complete reimagining of what the Gulf's workforce transformation requires in the AI era. From immersive intelligence to entrepreneurship creation, we provide the architecture GCC nations need to absorb disruption into opportunity."
Absorb disruption into opportunity. That framing is vital. The initiative operates on the assumption that you cannot fight the wave of automation. Protectionism won't work. Bans won't work.
Right.
The only viable path is to harness the momentum of the disruption and build a workforce capable of surfing it.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Why should you, sitting wherever you are right now, care about a highly localized workforce initiative rolling out in the Middle East?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you should care because the GCC is currently serving as a massive, real-time laboratory for the rest of the planet. We're watching an entire region attempt to fundamentally rewire its economic DNA on a compressed timeline. They are trying to jump directly from a legacy oil-dependent model straight into an AI-native human capital model.
Which is wild.
It is. The hollowing out of white-collar jobs, the demographic pressures, the rapid obsolescence of traditional degrees, these disruptions are not unique to the Gulf. They are happening globally. They're just happening in the GCC faster and with more intensity because of their specific, highly centralized diversification goals.
Whether you are an entrepreneur trying to figure out your next strategic move, a corporate manager looking at how AI will affect your team's headcount, or just someone who closely tracks global macroeconomic trends, the urgency we are seeing in the Gulf right now is a masterclass in survival.
Absolutely.
They are recognizing in real time that traditional education models and incremental online upskilling simply won't cut it anymore. To keep your head above water in the next decade, you need immersive technology, entirely new credentialing systems, and a massive structural push toward entrepreneurship.
This raises an important question, and it is something I really want to leave you with today. We are analyzing an entire region, a region backed by the immense, nearly unprecedented financial cushion of trillion-dollar sovereign wealth funds that is being forced to completely reimagine its human workforce just to survive the arrival of the AI era. They have infinite capital, they have top-down government mandates, and yet they are still treating this workforce transition like a five-alarm fire requiring a total systemic overhaul.
It makes you look at your own local economy in a very different light.
It absolutely does. If the GCC, with all its financial resources and centralized agility, recognizes that mere incremental change equals economic disaster, how prepared is the rest of the world to do the same? If a nation lacks that kind of centralized wealth, how are they going to protect and reskill their own displaced workers when the automation wave hits their shores?
That is a heavy critical thought to chew on. The sovereign human initiative might be localized to the Gulf for now, but the blueprint it is testing under pressure is one the entire world might soon need to borrow. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We love unpacking these massive world-shifting topics with you, and we hope this gave you a sharp new lens on how artificial intelligence is rewriting the fundamental rules of the global economy. Keep questioning, keep learning, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.